Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football Week 7 picks and predictions, where I predict the score of every game involving a ranked team. Starting off, guys, we've got two huge major top 10 matchups, including the big noon game. It's Penn State traveling to Michigan. Michigan currently 7.5-point favorites. And guys, when it comes to this game, I told myself I thought these teams were extremely evenly matched. So if I think that Michigan's at home, I give them the 3-point advantage. I've got them winning 24-21. Here's my problem with Penn State. I can't get over the Sean Clifford issue. And I know Sean Clifford's a veteran. He's got experience, but in my opinion, he's just not good enough. Michigan's defense, they've been able to generate pass rush extremely well the past few weeks. I think that continues, at least partially. Maybe they get a few sacks on Sean Clifford, force some punts, things like that. I think Penn State's overall lack of big plays will hurt them in this game. For Michigan, there are still major question marks. You know, they moved down to number 5. The overall offense with J.J. McCarthy, he's still improving as a passer and as a runner. We saw him struggle a little bit at Iowa versus Maryland, inexperience. I think Michigan does enough to win at home 24-21. It's just that Sean Clifford hurdle. I can't see Sean Clifford going into Ann Arbor and getting a win. I see this as a low-scoring, close Michigan victory. I think there's good value on Penn State plus the 7.5. The next noon game, we've got Auburn traveling to Ole Miss. So Auburn right now, a total dumpster fire. Ole Miss kind of has a weird game against Vanderbilt where they're down early. Then they come back and crush Vandy and easily cover. They're listed at -16. This is a noon start time. I do have Ole Miss winning this game 38-28. Jonathan Mingo, the wide receiver for Ole Miss, total breakout last week. I think 247 receiving yards on 9 catches. Jackson Dart playing better in that Lane Kiffin offense. I do not believe Ole Miss should be a top 10 team, but they've had a very manageable schedule, and it continues at home versus an Auburn team who has a lame duck head coach. I guess I do have Auburn covering this spread just because it feels like Ole Miss is due for kind of a down game. But either way, I still think Ole Miss is winning this one 38-28. I like the over-hitting in that game. The next noon matchup is unfortunately clouded by injury. We have Kansas with a possible injured quarterback traveling to Oklahoma with an injured quarterback in Dillon Gabriel. I have no clue on if Dillon Gabriel is going to play in this game. I can only speculate that with the recent rise of concussions in both the NFL and college, they are going to be very cautious with how they handle that Dillon Gabriel situation on whether or not he plays. Right now, Oklahoma is 7-point favorites, and I do have Kansas getting a higher scoring win on the road. Of course, Kansas's quarterback, Daniels, also leaving that game with an injury in the first quarter. Their backup comes in, throws for 4 touchdowns. I'll take Kansas on the road just because I can't trust Oklahoma and their defense, which has gotten crushed the past 2 weeks. Guys, this game right now, very hard to predict, and honestly, with the way college football and injuries are and the lack of transparency when it comes to those, I'm concerned. I would just stay away from this game because we don't know who's going to play. They probably won't tell us who's going to play until Saturday morning because it's always a mess with the college injuries, but I do think there's decent value on Kansas plus the 7. If their backup plays, does that change things? You know, if Dillon Gabriel is playing and Kansas is playing their backup, I would say it changes things. If both backups play, I think Oklahoma probably will switch and start a different backup, maybe a true freshman. We will see. The next noon game, we've got Iowa State traveling to Texas. Texas is a team, they're currently, in my opinion, on a total warpath. Iowa State losers of 3 in a row. You know, maybe you want to try and be smart and say, well, because Iowa State's lost 3 in a row, they're going to keep this close. They might pull off the upset. Guys, in my opinion, I think Texas, they're on a warpath. They're going to crush Iowa State, cover the 16-point spread at home. Iowa State's offense is just not good enough. list Texas as 16-point favorites. They've been trending heavily. If you actually look at the line, they opened minus 14, and they're all the way to minus 16. Quinn Ewers, amazing game last week versus Oklahoma. He's had a really good start to his Texas Longhorns career. Bijan Robinson gets going on the ground last week. I believe that continues. Texas has so much momentum after that 49-0 rivalry win. They're not going to spoil it and lose to an Iowa State team that's lost 3 games in a row. I respect Matt Campbell as a head coach, but I can't see Iowa State on the road winning this football game. They're going to drop their 4th in a row and lose this one 38-17. We've got a little zesty matchup here in the noon window. This is actually an 11 a.m. Central start time in Illinois. Illinois finally ranked, ending their massive, long drought of not being ranked inside the AP poll. They're at home taking on a Minnesota team. I believe Minnesota coming off a bye, healthy, with Mo Ibram back. That running back duo with Potts is so good. I have Minnesota winning this game 24-16. And guys, the models don't agree with me on this one. A lot of the models actually have Illinois winning this game, or at least coming close. Minnesota right now 3.5-point favorites. But I just think Minnesota, PJ Fleck, I trust their system to come back. The Purdue game was an aberration. They were missing their number 1 offensive player. If I'm Minnesota, I'm shutting down Illinois' running back Chase Brown, who's had 100 rushing yards in every game this season. I'm keying in on him and making Illinois throw the football. I have major concerns about this Illinois offense, especially if they trail early in a game. They can't move the ball. They beat Iowa 9-6. This seems like a situation where Illinois will, unfortunately for them, only be ranked for 1 week. Minnesota and their continuity, their overall success, their veteran leadership, very veteran-laden team. I'll take them to win this game and cover the 3.5-point spread, 24-16. Really early game there. This is the 3:30 window. We've got Vanderbilt traveling to Georgia. Georgia right now trending heavily. They're minus 38.5. I'm guessing that line will be minus 40 by kickoff. I'm concerned about Vanderbilt scoring. I believe Vanderbilt will be starting their backup quarterback. They are horrible. They got annihilated by Ole Miss, especially in the second half. So Georgia, to me, their defense crushed Auburn at home last week, and now they're facing an even less talented team in Vanderbilt. I know they won a few games early, but they're still just so bad. And with Georgia being at home, this game will get very ugly. I've got it at 48-3. Again, I think that line will end at like 40 or 41 because a lot of people are going to think that Vanderbilt legitimately might get shut out. Maybe they score a late touchdown or a late field goal in really garbage time, kind of like Auburn did, but they're in danger of being shut out in that game. We have possibly here the game of the year, the CBS 3:30 game. This is a 1v, I believe 5 or I think 6. Yeah, because Michigan's 5. So Tennessee coming in at number 6. Alabama ranked. Now Alabama is number 3. So it's a 3v6. Alabama listed as 7.5-point favorites, 70% chance to win. Before I reveal this pick, my expectation is Bryce Young is playing, guys. I think Nick Saban sat him down as a precautionary against A&M. If Alabama needed to win that game, if they felt concerned, I think Bryce Young could have gutted it out and played, but Bama was 24-point favorites at home, and Nick Saban knows they're going to go on the road at Tennessee the next week. He wants Bryce Young fully healthy. This is the biggest game in Tennessee's program since I don't know when. 3v6 at home versus Alabama, a 3:30 sun-baked game. We're going to get those, beautiful skies. As always, I'm expecting in SEC country. And guys, I have Tennessee winning this football game 38-35. Something about Alabama this year. There's something about them. It's just off. Their team is off this year. I know they have a good defense, but seeing A&M, although I will say, the only reason A&M was in that game, I got to give Alabama credit for this, was because of the turnovers. That's the only reason, or Alabama would have annihilated A&M. But still, Alabama's offense, they haven't shown me enough through the air. Tennessee, the story of this game, in my opinion, will be Tennessee's ability to generate explosive plays and get quick scoring drives. You're not going to have to convert 4 or 5 third downs on a drive just to score. Tennessee can move the ball in chunks. Even though Alabama has a great defense, I've got a lot of respect. Something is off with Alabama football this year, in my opinion. They certainly should have lost to Texas. That's not even a question. So they already should have one loss. I think this is a time where they actually do lose to Tennessee, and they're not going to get lucky in this one on the road. Tennessee wins this game and completely changes the trajectory of their program, 38-35. It's going to be, in my opinion, high scoring. Bryce Young will be back and forth game that Tennessee wins late. This could be the game of the year in the SEC. The next 3:30 game, another really good one. We've got Oklahoma State traveling to TCU. I always talk about the parity in the Big 12, and this game is no different. You've got TCU, the home 3.5-point favorites. This is an undefeated versus undefeated matchup. And guys, I cannot get a good gauge on this game, so I'm just going with the home team, TCU. I do have major concerns about TCU's defense and their pass rush. I know Oklahoma State has a really good defensive line, even though they allowed all those yards to Texas Tech. If Oklahoma State wins this game, in my opinion, it will be decided on the defensive line. Oklahoma State can generate a pass rush. TCU right now cannot. TCU needs to improve their defense, but these two teams very evenly matched. And guys, Oklahoma State was down by 8 points at home to Texas Tech in the third quarter. They were trailing most of that first half. That game was a complete toss-up. They end up winning it by 10 points, but they were outgained by 100 yards. I will take TCU at home. Veteran quarterback, veteran team. They're going to continue their undefeated season for at least one more week, but I do think TCU loses 3 regular season games. I still do. Oklahoma State could certainly win this game. I am not confident in this bet overall or in this prediction, but I would say I'll go with the home team due to Oklahoma State showing some cracks last week. TCU gets the win by 3. Next, we've got NC State on the road at Syracuse. Syracuse now moving up the ranks. They moved up 4 spots during the bye week. NC State coming off a very solid win over FSU. Low scoring home win, 19-17. And I think there's great value actually on NC State plus the 4.5 on the road. NC State has a very good defense, but I think the story of this game will be Devin Leary finally stepping up, making some plays against the Syracuse defense, who, guys, let's be real, these are a bunch of 3-stars. I think NC State can exploit it. They do have the talent advantage in this game. Carrier Dome is going to be rocking. This is a 3:30 ACC network game. Kind of a rare game between 2 ranked teams on the ACC network. I think you know what? It would have been great. It really would have been cool if they would have made this the 7:30 ABC game and we saw game day there. Like, I understand the whole thing with Tennessee, but didn't they just go to Tennessee? Like, I don't know, man. Could you imagine the Carrier Dome being sold out and Syracuse actually having a crazy... because you got to think, if it's a sellout in the Carrier Dome with the way in domes, the way the sound goes, and they've got a really low roof, they could get that place loud, man. I think that's a missed opportunity for College Game Day to really grow the sport. This should be the 7:30 ABC game, I think, man. I don't know. There's a lot of good games this week. I know Alabama-Tennessee is great, but it's very rare to have 2 ranked teams play in the Carrier Dome because Syracuse is normally never ranked, and it's a rare moment that unfortunately was missed by College Game Day. They have to go to Knoxville for the 15th time this year. But I do have NC State winning this game. Again, guys, I think NC State's the more talented team. Their defense is actually underrated. They've done a really good job the past few weeks. They had the Clemson loss, but they were kind of competitive. This is a game where they can take advantage of a little bit of a talent gap, and Devin Leary actually steps up. He's been a letdown this year. He'll play well, and they'll win. Next, we've got James Madison traveling on the road at Georgia Southern. And guys, let me just warn you, Georgia Southern is a good team, especially on offense. James Madison, they are ranked. It's crazy. It's great for college football. But to me, this reeks of a one and done. You guys know when teams that are never ranked get ranked for the first time in a while and then immediately lose once they're ranked. Nothing against James Madison. They're 6-0. They're also 6-0 against the spread. It's so impressive. But this game at Georgia Southern is going to be amped up. They see that James Madison is ranked. They realize this is an opportunity for them at home with a potent offense. This spells upset to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I will take Georgia Southern 40-37 in an absolute college football shootout in that game. Moving on to the nightcap, this actually is the 7:30 ABC game. It's Clemson at Florida State. And guys, I think it's going to be another upset Saturday in college football. I do have FSU winning this game 31-28. I'm very concerned about the lack of big plays that Clemson currently generates on offense. I'm not this huge FSU fan, but it's a situation where they're at home. Going to be crazy crowd environment there at Florida State. They've got a veteran quarterback. They get it done. Clemson, in my opinion, big question marks at the wide receiver position. Will Shipley completely shut down by Boston frickin' College? I think this is a game. If FSU is able to generate a short field off of a turnover, maybe by an interception, they can steal this upset at home. Clemson is a team that, due to their offense and the way they move the ball, they are susceptible to an offense. And guys, if you've been paying attention to this line, I believe Clemson opened -7. It's plummeted to 4.5, and I think it's only going to get lower. FSU can win this game at home due to Clemson's subpar offense, in my opinion, build off the crowd noise, and they win on a walk-off field goal 31-28. The next 7:30 game, we have Mississippi State at Kentucky. Now, guys, my expectation, just speculating, I think Kentucky's quarterback, Will Levis, will play in this game. He knows he's a possible first-round pick. He has to get out there on the field. This is my prediction with him playing. Mississippi State and Will Rogers, one of the more underrated teams right now in college football. And Kentucky, I've said, I don't know how Kentucky is ranked, so you would think I'm going to be picking Mississippi State to win in a blowout, right, guys? I can't do that. This is college football. Weird things happen. Everyone's saying Kentucky sucks. Mississippi State should be 20-point favorites. Kentucky shouldn't be ranked. And guys, this is the way college football works. Kentucky wins a close, low-scoring game, 23-20. But if Will Levis doesn't play, obviously I would have to change my prediction. But I'm thinking he knows if he wants to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, he needs to get out there and play. I've got Kentucky in an upset at home. We remember Kentucky went on the road and beat Florida. This team does have the ability. I think they're good value right now, +6.5 at home. Everyone is zigging. You got to zag sometimes when it comes to college football. That's what I'm doing here. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I am picking Kentucky to win that game. And then we've got the major 8 o'clock matchup. This was a potential top 10 game until Utah lost last week. It's USC traveling to Utah. Utah's defense really let them down last week with that performance against UCLA, giving up all those yards. Their offense actually played well. USC gets a somewhat impressive win. A lot of people were actually thinking USC could suffer an upset as 14-point favorites at home against Washington State. They easily avoid it. Their defense looks good. Utah, though, is -3. They're currently ranked number 20. And guys, I do have Utah holding serve at home, winning this game. USC is like that defense that has 9 lives or something. They keep getting all these turnovers. I think their turnover luck completely ends at Utah, and Utah actually wins the turnover battle 3-0. USC has gotten extremely lucky with that. They're going to be on the wrong end of the stick in this one. I'm very concerned about Caleb Williams' completion percentage. It always seems to be around 50%. Utah's offense showed me enough. At UCLA, they can move the football. Their defense, it was an aberration. It was a bad performance on the road. Now they're at home in a hostile environment with big crowd noise. Their support, trust Utah football in this one, guys. Don't overreact to that loss last week. They will get everything under control at home. USC, they're a talented team, but this is not their year. I'm telling you, they will not make the playoff this year. This will be the first of 2 regular season's losses, in my opinion, for USC. Utah wins this game 31-24. So guys, that is my official college football week 7 picks and predictions. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.